Hi, my name's Will. I was just going to do a quick video to show you how to run a Silverline winch off an 18-volt Dewalt battery and fit a remote control, a wireless remote control to it. I had a very specific job that I do regularly where I need a very portable winch that I can lift above my head to clamp up somewhere, and I need it to be wirelessly remote. The only thing I don't need it to do is be very powerful to lift a huge amount of weight. So that may have a bearing if you're looking at using this technology for yourself. First disclaimer, I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't know in depth how all this stuff works. So if I say something stupid, I'm sorry. I have, however, had the first-hand experience of working out how to do this. So I hope it's going to be useful to you. Second disclaimer, use this information how you will at your discretion. If you manage to hurt yourself or fry your battery or fry your winch, please don't blame me. I'm just giving you some little gentle advice on it. Okay, I'm going to flip the camera around now and move on to the second bit of the video. Okay, so here's what that Silverline winch looks like. It's fairly small and compact, not a huge capacity, but to me it's more important for the job I want it to do that it's light and compact and portable. They're also very cheap. These are about £80, which is as cheap as I found a 12-volt winch in the UK. And what I wanted to do with this, I needed it to work with a wireless remote, and I needed it to work off a Dewalt battery, just really to keep it as light and portable as it could be with the battery included. And I'm going to just share a couple of things I've learned along the way. So here is the Franken winch. Now the most important thing I've got to say to you is, if you've got one of these winches, not every winch, but one of these winches, and you buy one of those remote control winch kits off eBay or Amazon, that will not be enough to work it. You will need to buy a solenoid to go in between the winch and the remote. That's not quite true. In fact, you could use the remote control kit as it comes if all you wanted to do was reel in, and then you were prepared to just use the clutch to release the cable when you finish the job. But I needed a sort of controlled reverse as well as reeling in to be operable by the remote control. So I'll come to the battery in a minute, but as far as the remote control kits go, there's dozens of sellers selling pretty much exactly the same thing, and it's a handheld remote like this, on-off button at the side, in and out on there, and a receiver box, which is a little black plastic box that looks like this, with 5 wires coming out of it. Now, what this essentially does is it takes a positive in, which is this red wire here, and it then sends that out through either the yellow or the white wire, depending on which of these 2 buttons you press, in or out. To reverse a DC motor, what you actually need to do is reverse the polarity on those 2 poles. So this can't do that on its own. That's what the solenoid gives you. What you could do is wire it up just with one of these wires to the positive terminal of this, and then you could use the winch remote control just to say reel in please, but you wouldn't be able to reverse it. And similarly, if you didn't need the portability I need, you could just use it off a 12-volt battery off a car or a truck. So the wiring in a bit more detail. On the receiver box, you've got this blue wire, which is just the antenna. So it's floating in midair. That's what it's supposed to do. You don't need to connect it to anything. The red wire is the positive coming in from the battery. And the white and the yellow wires are the possible positive outs from the remote box, which you can control with the controller. Now, moving on to the solenoid, these 2 go to the outer spade connectors on the solenoid. I'm sorry this is a little bit hard to see because I've wired everything up already and tied it up, but those 2 wires are ending up here and here. It's worth saying that if you wire all this up and it's winching in when you ask it to go out and out when you ask it to go in, all you've got to do is either swap around those two or swap these two over, and then it'll read in the right direction. Back on the solenoid, the middle spade connector is the earth, and there's a link cable on this particular one that just goes from that up to the terminal directly above it. And going onto that terminal, I've got the earth from the remote control box, from the receiver box, and the earth from the battery. Both go into that terminal. The outer two terminals on the top of the solenoid are the ones that go straight to the back of the winch here. And underneath, it's a bit harder to see, the last terminal on the solenoid is this one. And you've got the positive coming in from the battery to there, and linked to it a positive going out to the receiver for the remote control, that red cable there. And that's basically how the remote control works with the solenoid. Once again, I'll repeat this: if you get this winch, you will need to buy a solenoid to run with it. The solenoid cost me about 15 quid, and you just look it up on eBay or Amazon, winch solenoid, and you'll get a choice of them. They're all pretty much the same, although some different amperages. And similarly for these remote controls, there's dozens of them. They all look almost identical. Some of them come with two of these, some of them come with one. Again, it'll be 15-20 quid for this and the little box. Moving on to the battery. Now, this is designed to take a 12-volt truck battery or car battery. I'm going to run it on an 18-volt Dewalt tool battery. If you're in the States, these are marked as 20 volts, but I'm pretty sure we're getting the same thing in different clothes. These are quite expensive, but because all my tools run off them already, I've got these, so it's a very convenient way to power this. Keep it light and compact. And obviously there are some trade-offs when you should be using a 12-volt battery that might be 75 amp hours rated, and this is a 5 amp hour rated tool battery, which is getting up there, a nice powerful battery for a drill, but not a very powerful battery compared to a truck battery. The difference being that a truck battery that's maybe 75 amp hours or so will kick out probably 14 volts if it's nominally 12 volts when it's in tip-top condition, and it'll keep kicking that out if it's demanded and not drop in voltage. Whereas this, under a load, will drop in voltage, and it won't obviously last as long. I actually started off, rather than buying the bog standard Dewalt battery adapter, which again, if you search for Dewalt battery adapter, you'll find loads of them. I bought one that had a step-down transformer included because I thought that was the right thing to do, so that I was putting the 18-volt battery into here and 13 odd volts were coming out. And I wired it all up and everything worked fine, except as soon as I put it under load, and then it didn't. It stuttered and jittered and stopped and reeled very slowly and stopped again, and it didn't work. So rather than go around buying another battery adapter, I actually just removed all this clever stuff that was inside the battery adapter I bought and wired the terminals straight out. So there's now 18 volts going into this solenoid. Now, there's always consequences. I can't tell you that won't shorten the life of the solenoid, which is designed for 12 volts, or shorten the life of the winch, which is 12 volts. And you're certainly kissing goodbye to any warranty you might have on either of those. In my opinion, especially for the work I'm doing with it, which is going to be fairly occasional and for fairly short periods of time, I don't think it will do any harm. Electric motors, DC electric motors, are built to run a fair range of voltages, and indeed these batteries, this battery might be putting out anywhere between 16 and 20 volts when it's fully charged, and it might be putting out down to 6 or so when you finally find it won't turn the drill around that it's plugged into. So both the batteries, the voltages and constant out of these and motors have a fair degree of tolerance. The way I look at it on this project is this little winch will save me bringing another man to site for a job, and on that basis it will have paid for itself the first time I use it. At the moment I've only used it under test conditions in the workshop, but it does work brilliantly. It will lift up a weight, about 50-60 kilos I put on it, and it wasn't struggling at all, and it was reeling in good and fast. So I think that covers just about everything. I'm going to just give you a very quick demo. I'll plug this battery in. Here's the cable on the winch. If I ask it to reel in, you should see, turn it on, there, ask it to reel in, you should see coming in. If I ask it to reel out, it will release the cable. The cable's not coming out because there's no weight on it, but it works perfectly in both directions. And I'm actually going to be using this on a job tomorrow, and I'm delighted that it works. So good luck if you want to try it, have a go at this yourself. I'm not an electrical engineer. Apologies if I've said anything daft, but what I can tell you is that this setup works. How long it will work for is anybody's guess, but I think it'll be fine. Thanks a lot. Bye.